Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all doing well today. It's another beautiful day here in Central Florida. I'm actually excited to get up every morning. Just the fact that I'm not like freezing my toes off, it's just amazing. So, man, I am just so excited to get to work today. All right, so today I have three, maybe four cars, all at the same location. And one of them I basically already finished, so I just got to check it over. I need to run it. It had a coolant leak. The customer actually thought it had a blown head gasket, and he made me buy this head gasket tester and all this stuff, and I was like, the whole time I really felt like it did not have a blown head gasket. So that's one of the things I'm gonna start doing, is actually doing my own diagnosis. I'll tell people that, I'll take whatever you say into consideration, but I'm not going to take it for word. Like, you as a mechanic, you have to do your own diagnosis. You cannot listen to customers, because, no offense, 99% of the time, customers are just guessing. There's no diagnosis done. It's all guesses. So that. There's a Ford Fusion that needs, so someone did rear brakes on it and did not put it in service mode, or didn't take it out. It's doing all sorts of weird stuff, so I basically have to fix someone's mess on that. And then there's a Jeep Liberty that has non-functional taillights, or something weird with the circuit board on the taillights. If you guys know Jeeps, then you know about those. And then that one has an oil leak, a tire light, so a couple things on that. And then there's a Silverado that needs brakes, wheel bearings, hubs. I am going to save that one for last, so I'm not sure if that's going to be included in this video. But yeah, I have plenty of work today. I'm doing my best with this filming thing. I'm trying to catch my groove, so I will admit I don't think my videos are going to be as good as they will be. I'm still trying to get my truck set up, or my Jeep set up. I'm still trying to, find a groove, trying to get things rolling, so here in the next month or so, hopefully I'll catch a nice groove with recording and posting, and figuring out those good angles and how to do things. So just bear with me, but I will show you guys everything I'm doing and try to include you, so that way you know what it's like to be a mobile mechanic. And if you like watching these types of things, you can definitely watch them here. All right, guys, I will see you in a few. So the deal with this car is it'll run for a couple minutes, and then it will basically start making some sounds, and then it'll start slipping, and it'll just stop going, and it won't do anything. So basically have to stop it, let it cool down, and then it'll start driving. But it starts slipping, the transmission starts slipping. So we did the transmission fluid, drained it. It did look pretty bad, but it's still just not really doing what it's supposed to be doing. So we scanned it, we checked a couple things, and found that the transmission control pressure solenoid wasn't reading anything. So we're going to possibly look into replacing that solenoid to see if it helps. But yeah, I mean, this one, it's got all kinds of problems. So if we can't get the transmission going, then we're gonna have to send it into a specialty shop. But for now, I did all I can on it, and we're gonna move on to the next job, which is right here. We have 3 cars in the same location, so that comes in handy. Don't have to travel, which is good. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, so someone actually did all the brakes before this, and they didn't put it into brake service mode. They either didn't do it, or they didn't take it out properly. So I had to hook up a scan tool and had to recalibrate the whole parking brake system, and now it actually works. As you can see, the brake is on. It actually goes into, you know, if you want it on or want it off. Had all sorts of lights on the dash before. And I found that this brake banjo bolt was loose and it was leaking fluid. So I had to tighten up that banjo bolt, and then I had to tighten up the brake caliper hose bolt that holds the hose in place. So when I was performing the brake relearn process, when I got out of the car and took off the tire to check everything, I discovered that there was this huge leaking spot on the ground. I noticed the brake pedal felt weird at first. So I looked, and sure enough, the banjo bolt was loose and the brake caliper hose bolt was loose. So I tightened both of those up, and luckily it fixed it. We're gonna have to bleed the brakes again, but you know, it's just people not taking their time, not doing things right, rushing. That's why I really, you know, want to be a mobile mechanic, because my goal is to work on one thing at one time and finish the job before I move on to the next. I'm not going to rush. I'm going to try to do my best. I'm going to try to go over everything and make sure that I get every bolt tight, every bolt torqued, you know, make sure I don't miss anything. Now, here's another prime example of people rushing and not taking their time. So this vehicle had a coolant leak, and what I found was the hose was like a half an inch from even being pressed on all the way, and the hose clamps were basically ruined from being tightened down wrong. So I had to buy new hose clamps. I had to push the hoses back on all the way so they sit flush, and it's just, you know, someone not doing their job right. So basically today is me fixing everybody else's mess ups. And then here what we have is an oil pressure sensor on a Jeep Liberty, and the problem with this one is it was leaking internally. As you can see, the connector was really loose. These Jeeps are really known for this problem. They'll leak through the connector. They're not really leaking through the threads. It leaks through the connector, and then it, you know, makes a huge mess. So that was the case here. So I'm just removing it. I believe it was a 27 millimeter, if I'm not mistaken. There is a special oil pressure sender switch socket, but unfortunately I didn't have it for this job. And this one was pretty easy to do from the top. As you can see, this thing is just soaked. I mean, when I pour it out, it's literally gonna pour oil out. I mean, this thing was really bad. We actually took some degreaser, cleaned up the entire area, and we're gonna install this new one here. We got this one from O'Reilly's, I believe. Usually in this case, I would go OEM, but the customer wanted to get it from O'Reilly's, so that's what we're gonna do. Make sure when you put these oil pressure sensors in that you only put them on snug. Don't tighten them down, torque them. You know, you really don't want to do that. They're just designed to go in, and once you feel it start to get tight, maybe go 3/4 of a turn, maybe even less. You really got to gauge it. Okay guys, this is the taillight assembly to that Jeep Liberty over there. Now, this is the brake light, running light, turn signal, reverse light. So as I was showing people, as you can see, that looks pretty normal. I mean, there's a little bit of color there, but as you can see, look at the contact there. It looks okay. Take this one, look at that coloring. As you can see, even the tabs look a little weird. And then once you look a little closer, you can see how it's kind of messed up. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking this screwdriver and I'm gonna try to scrape it flat, so that way when it turns in, these two make connection with these two. So let me go ahead and get this cleaned and scraped flat, and then we'll see if we have a working running light and stop light. I'm not sure why I didn't have the lights on while I was recording, but long story short, it fixed the issue, so we're going to move on to the next thing. So this was the vehicle that had the apparent head gasket leak, which I knew from the beginning it really wasn't, because like I said earlier, Customers, they'll just throw out these random guesses, and it's just like, this guy made me buy a head gasket tester kit because I didn't have one to test it. And I'm like, dude, this isn't necessary, but he wanted me to do it. Anyways, I did the test. It came back negative. I took a look around, and this coolant hose here, so as you can see, has 3 ends to it. It's all connected. One goes in there, one goes in the middle of the engine, and then one goes here on the coolant reservoir. Basically, that O-ring and the end of it broke, so it was slowly leaking out, and they couldn't see it. So they automatically assumed, since they couldn't see the liquid or the water leaking, that it was leaking internally. I literally found the leak in like a minute, and they said they took it to other mechanics. They did the water pump, the thermostat, this, that, and the other. And I'm just shaking my head like, man, this is crazy. But ended up getting it fixed. Well, the annoying part about this one too was I made the diagnosis. I told him what to order, and then the guy tells me to install the part, and then he goes and couldn't wait, a day, and he installs the part himself. It's just kind of annoying, but anyways, it did get fixed, so let's move on to the next job. I'll show you what we got here. It's currently 9 o'clock, and I'm here on my last job of the day. We have, let's see if we can see it, a Kia Soul, and we're going to be doing an alternator. So I'll show you guys what I got. Let's go take a look here. We got a alternator from Amazon, and she really needs her car, so I told her I'd get it done no matter what. And I worked until 7:30. I took a 1 hour break, got here at 8:30, and now it's time to get this alternator done, so that way we can make sure that she gets to work tomorrow. So it's starting up, but yeah, it had a battery light yesterday. That's weird. I don't think the problem would have resolved itself, but that's strange. The battery light was on, and we checked it yesterday, and it was not charging. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to verify once again. Maybe we won't have to do it, but maybe we'll just do it anyways. I'll ask her once I test the alternator. Okay, so I just talked to them, and apparently it's an intermittent issue. So we decided that we're just going to go ahead and do it, because we don't want this problem to come back and to go. We don't want to mess around. So we're going to get it done. All right, so just going to unhook the battery. And then down here, we have our little connector. I'm just going to take that off first. And I'm gonna start on these bolts here. Those are 12s. This is the tensioner for the belt here. So as you can see, you have to unloosen this one. And then if you either tighten or loosen the long bolt, it will either put more tension or less tension on the belt. So let me show you here. Loosen that up. And then if you loosen it here, this will slide out. Probably do it by hand, yep. Man, it's nice working on these Florida cars, man. In Maine, this here would be rusted solid. Alright, so here's the new alternator. We do live in Central Florida, so 1 day Amazon Prime shipping is a thing. So we literally ordered it last night, and it was here this afternoon. This has a decoupler type pulley on it, so we're just gonna go ahead and take off this battery cable. And I already got this unplugged here. I got this 12 unloosened here. So basically, to take this belt off, you need to take off this pinch bolt and then loosen this bolt here, and then the alternator should move. There might be, yeah, I got to get that bottom bolt, but yeah, that should be pretty straightforward. Now I have to get this power cable bolt off there. I think that's also a 12. So let me get my socket and we'll pop that off. Okay. That was a 12 millimeter. Hopefully this doesn't take too long. Okay. Just getting this bolt off here, or this nut. There you go, just like that. And now our power cable's off. Next, we got to get the bottom bolt. Actually, no, my apologies. We got to get this entire bolt off here. So it's a pinch bolt, but it's also the top bolt for the alternator. As you can see, I'm just going to get it to the end there, and then we got to get down and get that bottom bolt. All right, and this bottom bolt is going to be a 14 millimeter. So I'm just going to pop this sucker out, and then we'll have to kind of rock the alternator back and forth, and she should come right out. Okay, I was able to just get this bolt out the rest of the way by hand. That is the bottom bolt. Oh wow, that thing was sandy. I didn't even drop it. Holy crap. Next, we're gonna have to get this bracket out of the way because we're gonna need that space to pull the alternator out. So we have two more 12 millimeter bolts. Those should be easy to get right out of the way. Okay, now we got this bracket loose and out of there. Okay, now, you see that? Once I had everything loose, I just pushed the alternator forward, and I'm gonna pull the belt off like that, and then I'm gonna rock it back and forth, and maybe I'll remove this just in case so I don't break it. Oh, I have to remove that there. I have this one here. There we go. Oh yeah, listen. The thing is messed up. Wow. And it has, so this has a decoupler type pulley on the end. Oh, look, let me see if I can show you. That's great.
Yeah, if that pan was on there, they'd all be stuck on that pan.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't like the pans, because like I said, if something's leaking or you drop something.
I think, to me, it just looked to me like it's keeping the motor from cooling off, like it's steering the air around it. And that's the last thing I want on my car. I want as much air as I can get to it.
So, as you can see, it's currently daylight, and I'm currently here with the alternator that you guys saw in the video. Unfortunately, I have really bad news. The alternator that was ordered ended up being the wrong alternator. So it was, I guess, on the customer because they ordered it and it was wrong, which was really unfortunate because she really needed her car and I really wanted to get this done for her. The problem is, you know, the alternator for the car, you know, we could have got it locally, but it's upwards of $600 or $700 for an alternator at the parts store. And then on Amazon, you know, we basically got one for $200 or less. So, you know, we're trying to save money. She was trying not to spend excessive amounts of money on something, which I don't really blame her because I'd probably do the same thing. So the weird part is this alternator is right. The body, everything, it fits in there perfectly. But the only difference is this connector right here. So when once I got everything on, I was like, oh shit, like, I didn't check the connector, which, it looked all perfect. So I was like, okay, well, we're good. So I got to looking and I was like, this looks like, this comes off. This is the voltage regulator here on the side. So, I went to taking this off and it almost looked like we could switch it. So we did try to switch it. And it actually, so I'm going back to the house today because we ordered it on Amazon. It was only 2-day delivery. So I'm going to go there. It's Thursday afternoon. I'm going to go as soon as the alternator arrives at the house. I'm going to go install it and I'll show you guys the old part. So basically the brushes for the contact there were so worn down and the bottom one was barely touching and the top one wasn't touching. So I think that's where our intermittent issue was. It was basically the brushes were barely touching, so that's why that battery light would come on and off, and that's why sometimes it would charge, sometimes it wouldn't charge. And also when you spin it too, you can really hear it. Like I said, we were going to switch out the voltage regulator because it's all the same. All the bolt holes are perfect, everything's perfect, and we didn't realize that the voltage regulator on the old one was bad. So once we took it apart and or once I took it apart and got everything switched over, I saw the brushes and I was like, perfect. It could have worked out, but in reality it would have only been a temporary fix because the car does have 200,000 miles on it, and a part like that's going to be worn. Also, let me show you guys. Now this is not for me. So I noticed, I think I mentioned to you guys that I saw that this was broken. And once I took it apart, look how bad this thing was broken. Like, it was bad. So, it's just kind of weird how the part we needed on the old alternator was basically worn out. And the part here was broken and wrong. So it's just a weird coincidence. But anyways, the package should be arriving soon. So once we get verification that it's arrived, I'm going to head right over. It's pretty close to where I live. And then I'll record me getting all this back together and we'll get this customer back on the road. Okay, so here's the new voltage regulator. Now, as you can see, these are spring loaded, boom, boom. And that's what basically, there's a shaft and then these, form a groove once it, as you can see, they're almost kind of grooved. But anyways, the ones on the original one was like way down here, barely sticking up. I mean, they were so worn out, you could barely even see them. So that's the reason why we could not use the old one. I mean, even if we did use it, it would just be temporary just to get her to work, and then we'd have to get a new one anyways. But so yeah, I just wanted to show you guys that and kind of explain to you how it works and what the issue was. Alright, here's the new alternator. We verified the plug looks right. Everything looks good. Nothing is broken. So, let's see if we can get this sucker in just a couple minutes. So, I'm just going to get this bottom bolt lined up right here. Okay, bottom bolt is in. Easy peasy. Now we gotta get this bracket on here. This sucker goes like that. I always try to keep the bolts in the holes that they were in so I don't get them mixed up, especially if they're different sizes. If they're not different sizes, then I don't bother, or sometimes I do, but I guess it all depends. Okay, these gloves too, these are like 11 or 12 mil. They're so thick. One pair will literally last you a week. Okay, now we got the, let's see, how does that go again? Like that. And like that. Man, I'll tell you what, working on these Florida cars is nice. No bolts are stuck or rusted. As long as it's a Florida car. Okay. Got this bottom bolt going in now. I'm just going to tighten it up. Okay, now I'm going to slip the belt on, get this in place, and start tightening up the belt. And then once I get it tight, I will tighten the bottom bolt, and it should be good. So all you want to do is just go clockwise to tighten it, just like that. Then we'll check the tension. I'm gonna put this sucker tight. Okay. Yeah, depending on the angle.
Yeah, everything you do is be turning it on and off. Okay. That's just the battery. You can charge your core charge on it or nothing, right? So you don't have to return it, the alternator?
Right, yeah. It's a new one, so. Nice. Alright, get this nice and tight here. I mean, hopefully, you know, maybe the belt wasn't tight or whatever. Hopefully all right, got the alternator in right there. All right, want to give it a try. We're gonna start it up and see if she charges. Nice. She's running. All right, let me go grab my voltage meter and we'll check the voltage. Yep, 14.2. Okay. See if it stays. Alright guys, I'm on my way home. It's currently 10 o'clock. We got that Kia up and running. Something I did mention, that car, I actually did another repair before this repair because this Kia had been down for almost 4 months. They literally replaced everything on the car and they just couldn't get it to run. And I started looking at it and I found that the wiring harness for the direct look at the crazy people here. The direct injectors, or I can't think right now, but it's a GDI engine. The wiring harness was messed up. So I found some shorts on the wiring harness. We ordered a new harness and it literally started right up. They couldn't believe it, literally. So, and then as soon as it started up, I noticed it wasn't charging. So that's when that's when I ordered the alternator to fix that problem, because of course as soon as I fixed the short, it wasn't charging. So we got that. It was two separate problems. It wasn't related. But I hope you guys enjoyed this series. I'm going to be filming more and more. I'm going to try to get better and better. And like I said in the last video, I'm just trying to catch my groove, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. So, you know, it's really helpful if you guys let me know if you like this kind of stuff. I can keep doing it. If not, I can try to switch it up. But anyways, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to comment down below. Let me know what you think. Leave a like if you liked the video, and we'll see you next time. Peace.